Hi, this is Kat, and welcome to a special edition of the Austin Bike Bulletin for the week of September 6th, 2022. We just got back from a week and a half in Portland, Oregon, and we did a few rides while we were there, and we just wanted to share our experiences with you from our rides there and just things that we saw that were cool, and we had a great time. I met some really cool people. The friends that we stayed with were amazing. And I just highly recommend visiting Portland. It's super worth the visit. So check it out. I hope you enjoy the video. Let us know what you think. Bye.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, Lisa.
I heard that you went to Portland recently.
I did with you.
Oh! How about we talk about Forest Park, the place that Emily suggested we try out in our last episode.
Right. So last Thursday we rode there, and the park we were on mountain bikes with hardtail mountain bikes, which were completely what's the word? Overkill for the location. You probably would have a much better time on gravel bikes. For most of the trails, probably even a hybrid would have been doable, but a gravel bike would be perfect.
For context, Forest Park is this really long, winding road that kind of bumps over the base of a mountainous area, and so it's very rolly, and that road is about the width of a normal, like, one-lane car road, and it's paved poorly, so it's not as gravelly as a country road in Texas. It's not chunky. It's just kind of a paved gravel
but still
road.
Fun. And it's not road. There's no cars.
Yes.
So
pedestrians walking up and down, people on cross and gravel bikes riding up and down.
Joggers.
It would be kind of the equivalent in Austin of Southern Walnut Creek Trail. It kind of serves a similar purpose, but holy cow, the terrain is quite different.
And it was so green and beautiful, tall pine trees and ferns and
true rainforest.
Just really, really pretty.
It's just amazing that we have an ecosystem like that in our own country, especially being a Texan. You're used to like scrubby short trees and whatnot.
None of that.
Cedar and but gosh, in Portland at Forest Park, it's a great place to go to just be completely hugged in nature. You're under a canopy. The trees are super tall. The ferns and lichen and just like, oh man, really beautiful.
It was so pretty. Yes.
Very, very, and I think one thing about Forest Park is if you can ride through on a bike, you get to take in a whole lot, and it's a different experience than a lot of the hikes you could have out there, of which there are many.
In the park, we rode up it's not Fire Road, it's
Fire Lane.
Fire Lane 1, and came down Fire Lane 3. And if you ever find yourself wanting to push your bike up a hill, Fire Lane 1 is the one to do it on. It's like straight up the mountain in a straight line. It's a cardio workout.
Oh my goodness. Even my former, more fit self, I think, would have struggled with this. But as I currently am, it's not technical. You can absolutely ride up it. There's no chunks or anything, but it is so steep and so long that probably your heart rate will get the best of you.
Do you think anyone could ride up that?
It's like for Austin people, it's like a really, really long dirt courtyard. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't think I ever would have had the fitness to climb up that.
I think people that can ride up the Hill of Life can ride up this. Because it's a similar, like, it's way less technical than Hill of Life, but similar in you're just exhausted. So there's Fire Lane 1 for you.
There's 2 hills I'll never climb. on my bike.
So we rode up Fire Lane 1.
Right, and did a little road, about a mile or 2 road section, and then came back down on Fire Lane 3, which was a blast. It was not quite as steep as Fire Lane 1.
But still very
but
steep.
still very steep, but I was able, walking up Fire Lane 1, I was like, there is no way I'm riding down this, because it was just so steep. But Fire Lane 3 was rideable, fast, narrow, but not technical, just fast.
Fire Lane 3 reminded me of Rudy Chutes in the Hill of Life area.
Okay, yeah.
Because, steep,
Right.
but less technical than Rudy Chutes.
Yeah.
No Rudies,
Yeah,
just Chutes.
everything was much less technical.
Yes, for sure. Now, to help you kind of envision Forest Park, there's that road that we were describing that goes alongside the bottom of the hill.
Leif Erikson.
And then there's a few others too.
Yeah.
Really good trail maps. You don't need to put anything in your bike computer. Just go look at a trail map, you'll get it. The fire lanes are steep. Those are more mountain bike appropriate, and they kind of lead off of that main road out. Like in the case of Lane 1 and 3, those both connected to Skyline Boulevard, I think, which is like a normal road with cars. And as you can imagine, there's multiple trail entrances all along Leif Erikson. And it's a pretty long trail. There's 15 fire lanes, kind of all like tributaries going into that trail.
We did not explore nearly all those.
No,
so
we got a little
next time.
A little confused.
Yes, we did.
not the map's fault.
Yes.
1000% a tractor's fault. Oh.
Well,
they were doing a little construction, and that
right.
got us turned around. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say in relation to going to the park is on Thurman Road going into the park, there's a bike shop called Fat Tire. And we stopped in. They are an amazing resource. They were answering all our questions. They were super friendly. Really, really nice bike selection in there. If you have a big fat checkbook, that would be the place to go, because they had some really, really nice bikes.
As the name implies, it's a mountain bike
and it's mostly
shop.
a mountain bike shop.
Yeah.
And then not far away, and we didn't look it up again, I'll put it in the show notes, there was a coffee shop that had really good food. We had lunch there.
Just up the street from, I think we parked our bikes at Fat Tire and then walked over to the coffee shop. So that was really nice.
It's such a nice area and very much worth the trip.
If you're planning to visit, I'll just really quickly enumerate the other things that are in that area.
Okay.
There's a rose garden. There's a Japanese tea garden, or Japanese garden.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have tea. There's a witch's hut.
Witch's castle.
A witch's castle.
Yes.
And is there anything else?
And then the Columbia River is right there too.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot to see.
Pretty nice destination.
It's very cool. It's so pretty. Check it out.
Hey, Kat.
Hey, Lisa. What did we do on Thursday night last week?
Well, we had just ridden all around Forest Park, gotten ourselves super tuckered out, and somehow wheeled ourselves back out of the house onto the streets of Portland, where we rode on over to some park on the river.
Yes.
Sorry to not be more specific.
It's a big fountain. They had the fountain jets there.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
A splash pad.
Yeah.
And we met up with all of the hooligans of Portland.
So probably 100 or so, maybe more, riders showed up on a Thursday night. The ride was we were supposed to be there at 7:30, and ride didn't even really start until after 8. So
in that sense, it's a whole lot like the Austin
very social
Thursday ride. Yeah. A lot like the Austin one in every way, actually.
Yes, it was very fun waiting for the ride to start, because there was a kid practicing his fixed gear tricks, spinning his bike backwards. There was somebody doing wheelies around the fountains. There was kids playing in the water.
There was a guy on one of those like single wheel thingies.
The one wheel motorized things.
Yeah.
Those things are weird looking. But he was very cool and very good at it. Like he was like swooping around and doing it 1 foot. And
there's a really cool lady that looked like a Berliner.
Yes, that was my favorite.
Yeah, just good people watching. Very mixed crew. Very much like the Austin one.
People had decorated bikes with lights on them, and
it was the birthday of the guy that was leading it that night. Seems like the Austin ride. So in Austin, the Thursday night social ride has a whole bunch of different volunteer ride leaders that take turns. It seemed to me that maybe in Portland it's similar. We really should have talked to the guy, but it was his birthday, so everyone's saying happy birthday to him. And one thing that is a little different maybe is this ride, especially in the beginning, took advantage of every stoplight to make sure
to regroup.
Yeah, to make sure that there was regrouping going on.
Right.
So it was even more slow because there wasn't so much like blocking a light, let's all get through. They were more inclined to be like, oh, here's a light. No matter what color it is, we're going to preemptively stop.
Wait, and get the whole group together. It was, I'm still new to social rides. That was one of the first ones I've done. I liked that because it kept the whole, you didn't have to worry about getting split between lights or anything like that. And it worked out pretty good. And it was pretty dark by the time we were actually like in the ride. Like it was good to stay together.
It was nice to be surrounded by all these bike lights.
Yes.
I had been to the Boulder Thursday night ride, and theirs was the most different. Now, this isn't super fair to say because I'm just doing little samplings. I know in Austin sometimes we'll have dress-up rides. Like a couple weeks ago, the Austin Thursday night ride had, I think it was like Super Mario themed or something.
What?
Like they'll have costume rides. I just imagine they do the same in Portland. The one I went to in Boulder, I don't know if I got there on a special occasion or if they're always this way, but they were way more like burners. Like, we're gonna be hula hooping, LED hula hoops and circus people, like that sort of thing. Like we're all wearing fairy wings, and so I don't know if that's how they always are or if I caught them on a special day, but
we may never know.
I do like how in all the bike cities you can pretty much count on finding a Thursday ride at the very least.
Right. It's definitely worth checking out if you're in town and you have a bike or something that rolls. Because there was people on skateboards, there was a unicycle.
That's true.
There was a young kid on a teeny tiny little road bike. Did you see that?
Oh, no, I didn't.
It was very cool.
But
he was keeping up really well.
One thing about Portland that's a little different too is they don't really have as many of like the Lime bikes and scooters. They're way more inclined to have those city bikes that have stations and you check it out. And those would be absolutely fine.
Those would be fine too.
Yeah, you don't have to rent a bike from a bike shop if you want to do that kind of riding.
You would need lights of some fashion just because you need to get home from the ride too, because it's going to be late. Now we left the ride early because we had a long day, honestly. So we got to about the midpoint of the ride. They stopped at the grocery store and
New
got
Seasons.
snacks. New Seasons,
Where
which we love.
New Seasons has plant-based chocolate chip cookies that
They were so good.
I did not get them that night, but I saw one of the riders with them, and so the next day I obsessively had to get my hands.
We ate a whole tray of them.
Oh my god!
In like a minute.
They were so good.
They were so good.
I'm so sad that we don't have a New Seasons with their cookies.
So
here.
the New Season stop was seriously 45 minutes long, and after that Lisa and I and our friends zipped back to where we were staying,
but not before stopping at 50 Licks.
Right, we had ice cream.
A vegan ice cream place.
It was so good.
It was magical.
Yes,
we had some good eating in Portland.
Hey Lisa.
Hey Kat.
Let's talk about our ride at Powell Butte.
Man, so we had asked various bike shops, hey, we got these mountain bikes. We rented them from Everybody Bikes, which was a cute place, by the way. What trails can we hit up? For the most part, the shop said, well, really everything's at Mount Hood.
Which is like an hour out of town.
Yeah.
And a $50 lift pass.
Yeah, it would be hard to go to if you don't have transportation. So there is a spot in town, though, called Powell Butte, which is probably the best mountain biking you'll get in town. And I would wholeheartedly agree.
Me too. The rides, we rode to the park. It was an easy ride. There's bike lanes everywhere in town. Don't worry about the ride there. Inside the park, it seemed like, I think all the trails there were only a few trails that were no bikes allowed. Most of them were bikes allowed. Their signage is great. And the best thing about Powell Butte is it's a compact park, so you're never too far away from anything. It's hard to get lost. All the trails seem to circle back around. We took some trails, we went both directions. We went up and down.
Seems like most of the trails are bi-directional.
Yeah, there's nothing that, you can't go the wrong way.
We're extremely good at getting lost.
Yes.
And Powell Butte managed to make even us not.
We look like pros.
We managed to ride every single trail in that park.
Yeah.
And I would say it's a mix of like single track, what you're kind of hoping for when you're on a mountain bike, not technical at all. We didn't see anything technical whatsoever. But single track riding through beautiful trees and ferns and all that. Just enjoying the rainforestiness of the Pacific Northwest. Absolutely gorgeous. And then there were also trails that put you out in a grassland. Right. Which was also beautiful.
It's a reservoir there, so on top.
It was beautiful for its own reasons. Like gorgeous long yellow grasses.
Beautiful
and
views.
Wildflowers.
It was kind of overcast today. We were there. I imagine you had some pretty good views of mountains and volcanoes and stuff if it was clear. If it wasn't that clear that day.
Well, which kind of brings me to the mountain view. They have a feature in that grassland on the trail, or like off of the trail. They have this kind of circle where they have markers or like placards for every mountain around you, and you can just kind of look around and be like, there's Mount St. Helen, and there's Mount Hood.
That's where it would be if it wasn't cloudy. Yes, because we couldn't see any. I don't think. I didn't see any. Anyways, my vision's bad.
They also had a visitor center.
Yeah,
with
there was.
With an installation about water pipes.
Water pipes.
These are the various water
if you're
pipes
interested
we
in
use.
Water pipes, that is a good place to go.
Yeah.
The downhill sections of the single track were a blast.
Yes.
It was totally like the indoor scene on Star Wars, where you're just kind of swooping through the trees. You could go, there was flow to it. You didn't have anything that it's not like Slaughter Creek where you come around a corner and there's a rock garden. It was like you come around a corner and you go fast and then there's another corner. And it was just fun, and they were just long enough to be exciting, but not, your arms aren't pumped and you're fine. But
I honestly think if you're on a budget, we didn't go to Mount Hood, which has a ski lift and you just ride all the way down the mountain. And those are super fun, but they're expensive. It's like $50 for a lift pass, and you have to get yourself out there. Well, Powell Butte, I still felt like I got a lot of just swoopy, flowy downhill for long stretches of time. Yep. The key difference is you have to work for it. Right. You actually have to do a bit of climbing. But I don't remember there being any climbs in Powell Butte that were terrible.
No, none.
Yeah, so you got a lot of payoff. You did a little climbing, but you got a lot of payoff for that climbing.
Yeah, and we were there on, what's that, Friday that we went?
I don't
Friday
remember.
or Saturday, and it was not crowded. It was we saw a few hikers, a few bikers, and that was about it. It was not. We didn't have any issues at all with sharing the trail. So it was a good day. And also, sort of along the same lines as Forest Park, it was completely free. You just ride in. There's a trailhead, and you just go in and start having fun. There's no park pass. There's no ranger to pay. There's no parking fee.
Would you agree, Kat, that Forest Park is better for gravel bike and Powell Butte is better for mountain bike?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. But both, if you're staying in town, are rideable from pretty much anywhere in town. If a few flat miles on bike lanes, and you'll be at some cool places to ride.
For folks that are more road oriented, there are road rides. We went to a coffee shop and saw folks that were kitted up about to hit the mountain.
Right.
Seems like the road rides like to do climbing.
Yes.
Like, I think once you get out of town, maybe it's a little more climbing oriented.
Probably. We didn't do any road riding this time.
You kind of have to make a decision when you're traveling. Do we want to rent mountain bikes? Do we want to rent road bikes? I would say I'm really happy that we got mountain bikes and did gravel commuting and mountain, as opposed to getting road bikes and just doing road, or even gravel bikes and doing road and gravel and commuting.
Probably the smartest thing to do would be to move there and bring all our bikes.
I think our friends would agree.
Yes.
All right.
All right. Good job.